here today. We have some lovely ladies sitting in front of us, and we're going to be talking about how they joined HAM, their motivations, what they've been doing after joining HAM, and how they have been contributing to the ham radio culture in India today. Okay? So let me go ahead and today. So we have Aishi, VU3OOS. She's from Kolkata, a student of mass communication and journalism. She got her license at 15, and she's been trying since she was in grade. Inspiring story there. She's going to talk about. She's been active in treks, education, and also actively purchased on YouTube. Notably, her exploits with DMR have been very, very fruitful. So welcome Aishi, VU3OOS. Next we have Kanchal, VU3HPC. She currently works at Innova Solutions in Hyderabad and is a PCE graduate from DJIT. She has also had a couple of contacts after getting her license. And I look forward to asking her a lot of questions about her motivations. And next we have Madhavi. Madhavi is an engineer at HF Signals. She is also with the other ladies here who are actively into soldering and testing radios at HF Signals. The ladies are very, very smart. They speak very articulately, and they got their license about 2 months ago and have been active in the ham circuit. And she's going to talk about her contacts in ham radio. So my first question to the panel members is,
it's fine. So thank you very much for handing me over the mic and giving me this opportunity for this wonderful panel discussion. And the importance of vowels in ham radio, I think, is okay. I think it's more important than you think, but the audience in front of us is very low. So can you just look into it if you can have just some more audience, because it's very important. The role of vowels in ham radio is really important, but you're not having that much of an audience, so we can convey our messages. Okay, fine. So let me begin. The very first question you asked me, like, what was my motivation for being a ham? Actually, at first I was not very interested. I saw my mentor, Victor Uni from 2 Oscar India, contacting with other peoples, from sitting in a room. I was very much confused that why we need this radio when you can talk on WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram. We have social media apps like this. But what is the need of this particular radio frequency? What will it benefit us? So for 4, 5, 6, until I was in 6, I didn't understand it properly. What is the need of this ham radio in our today's life? But then I got to saw what ham radio is really about. I was not interested until and unless I was set out on the field. I went out on the field day with everyone else. There we set the antenna together. I used to wonder that what is this thing? 5 people are setting the antenna on a terrace. What's funny in this one? Or what thrill it can give me? But it didn't give. But when I was on the field, when you cannot even find a single piece of bamboo, that was thrilling. That was challenging. That's when I started liking ham radio. And all these things, this struggle, this thrilling sensation that you have to find a bamboo, there is no connection, you have to take the battery. And the first time I went out, it's our CQ day. We go out for 1 day and a whole day. We stay out, we communicate with people from all around. So it was there when one of our members' car was open, and from there we took the power supply, and somewhere with branches of the trees. It was not a proper bamboo, just some branches stacked together, strong enough to hold the antenna was there. That time I understood that setting an antenna is really tough when you don't have the proper area. At a terrace it's very easy with 5 people, But when it's on a field day, it's a ground with nothing else. So it's really, really hard to set. And that what pushes me to ham radio, this exciting sensation. Because I am Gen Z. And many people tell that Gen Zs are not interested in ham radio because they don't understand this sort. No, we don't like the comfort. We want things to be more challenging. We want things to be fun. Like, it's very funny and it's very thrilling when I have the palpitation, like, yes, tomorrow I'll go on the CQ day. So today I pack all the things at night and I don't sleep well. So I have to go tomorrow and find. We set out at 5, we found a place, and by 6:30 we set up the antenna. And I'll just tell you an incident. So we were on the ground, CQ day, somewhere around our side, and we didn't get any power. And we had to set the antenna in a vertical shape. So what we did, we actually climbed on someone else's terrace. And from their terrace, we just told them, we have this event going on. We need your terrace for helping us. So will you please let us use your house? So we actually went from, they were not involved in the tasks, but we just told them and we entered their house, we barged the floors, and that's how we got the perfect length. So this is the thrill Gen Z's like. I am myself a Gen Z, and I find my hobby very interesting. I love it. So I think more Gen Zs will be coming to the hobby when they will find it exciting. Communication is always exciting, but sitting in a room, communicate with a few people is not nice. When you sit out in a nature, when you can see the mountains, and you can see the sun rising, at that time of moment when you can communicate with a person, that is what ham radio gives to me. That's my motivation, that I'll get to speak with some new faces, and I'll be put in, I am out of my comfort zone. So that's what motivates me for ham radio. So I can go out of my comfort zone and I can discover a new part of me. So after that, as I said, yeah. So that's all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Aishi, for sharing your experience. For me also, setting up an antenna has been a 3-year-long freeze effort where I was unable to get it set up to use my UBITX. But yeah, safe to say that setting up an antenna is one of the biggest achievements in a ham radio operator's life. So congratulations. Next we have Kanchan, VU3 HPC, and we're going to ask her her motivation to be a YL in ham radio.
Thank you, Mitali. So it was really interesting to hear as she's speaking about her experience and her motivation becoming a YL. My motivation to become a YL began during college. Actually, it was all with Farhan's talk that we had at our college. During 2023, he visited our college and gave a talk about ham radio. So after that, we had an exam conducted to get that license. So I gave that exam, but still I was not much into it even at that point in time. So after a year, along with my friend, I visited Lark's monthly meet. So therein I again started like seeing people talking about the radio, people getting their handsets, radios, and everything kind of excited me. And then with the motivation guide of Sashi sir, I again applied back for license, and then I procured my license around a year back. After that, I was again not very active on air, but then again I've been to the field day along with the whole Lark team. So there it was really interesting. That was the first time I went on air on Q100, and I spoke to people from Germany, France and Italy, and that was really interesting. And after that I have started being on air, like even I now go on air for Lark's early morning net, which happens at 7:45 due to LHR. So that's really interesting, and I hope that I explore more through it, and it's really interesting. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kanchan. So I can also narrate a personal incident. I had been trying to get a ham radio license for the last I think, 12 to 15 years ever since I was in college, and I couldn't get a license until I joined Lamakaan Amateur Radio Club, and then Sasi helped me, and Sasi has been a very crucial person to get people involved in ham radio and get their license. So kudos to the LARC team to help YLs get their licenses as quickly as possible. I also had 2 kids, so that made it much harder. So I'm truly deeply grateful to LARC for that. Okay. So these girls have also got their license about 3 months ago. They are working with HF Signals, and speaking on their behalf, it was tough to get this license. They had to study quite a bit. So they are recent graduates of engineering, and now they are working with HF Signals in soldering and testing. So it's been an interesting journey where Madhavi also has done her first contact, just like Kanchan here, and she also exchanged notes in a very ordered manner, and then probably recorded it in her logbook. I was speaking to her yesterday, and she spoke about how she exchanged her call sign, got the other person's call sign, had a brief few words, and then ended the contact. Very interesting experience that she had, and I'm going to pass it over to Ashi again, because her first contact was also very interesting. So Ashi, could you talk a little bit about your first contact?
So as per my first contact, it has 2 versions. So the day I got license, I was checking. So my mentor Neil sir told me that you have got the license finally after so many tries. I gave examination for many times, but I sometimes failed without any reason. I also don't know, but lastly at 15 when I was in class 9, I got it. So it was very fun for me. So what I had, my mentor was on the terrace and I was on the ground floor. So that was my first contact, you can say. So I gave my first call. This is Vyutra you're calling. He responded. So this one. And the next one, if you will say, then it's in a field day. But still the first call, which was on the terrace, he was on the 3rd floor, terrace was on the 3rd floor, and I was on the ground floor. So that was really very happy. It was a happy moment for me. I finally got to talk over the radio, because you know SWS don't get to touch the video, they can hear, listen, but they cannot transmit. So that was a moment of joy for me when I got to transmit and got to press the PPT for the very first time officially. So that was a moment for me. So this is my first QSO. It's a very memorable one. I still remember the date. It's 15th May. I used Baofeng QB fiber for the very first communication. We are having a HF, ICOM 7300. We are having a VHF bus. Although we talk more on the HF, on outings, on treks, but when we go to any other states for establishing like a regional communication, we use the VHF also. That's it.
Thank you so much, Aishi. Kanchan, what did you use and how did you get started with your first contact? How was the first contact made technically? What radio did you use?
So speaking of this, first thing I feel that Aishi is really very fortunate that being YL, I mean, she's having, what do you say, that freedom or lenience to go outside and trek. So I personally come from a family where I'm not given with much lenience, and the hard stop to even to reach home is like 8 p.m. or going out on treks and everywhere. Like even right now, I was asked to share my location to my father. So that is how it is. So this is the reason why setting up an antenna and all of those, it's quite difficult for me going out. So that is why the easiest way I find is Ecolink. Although I have a Baofeng set, so I go on air using my Ecolink. I think that's the most easiest way for anybody to get quickly started and get exposure to the get exposure on how we can go on air and talk to different people across the globe.
Thank you, Kanchan. So as I see, Gen Z and millennials have the same problems. Whether it's of leniency or whether it's lack of time. I have 2 children. It's really hard to get on air, but when we try, we can get on Ecolink much easier. I had my first contact on Ecolink and it was amazing. I met a gentleman from Delhi and he led me through the exact format of how to communicate. It was such an enriching experience. I was very lucky and privileged to make that first contact. Okay, moving on. So, Aishi, let's talk about post-first contact. What all activities have you been doing, and who all have you been meeting in your journey, and what keeps you motivated?
So after the post, you said post contact, so I have been out on field days, like I have been on 4 to 5 CQ days. As I said, that we set out and a whole day we are out communicating, contacting, and on the evening we return to our nest. So post contact, I have been involved in ARCON 23. One of the flagship events of Oscar India. Last year I was engaged in Hamfest India 24. Oscar India conducted it. And various events like we travel to many states like Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, and those of the northeastern states. We provide, we help them to establish a proper communication that they can be helpful to them during disaster, because northeast is a very dangerous zone. It comes under seismic zone 5. So whenever there will be an earthquake, it will shatter everything. And there are frequent landstorms also. Either it's Darjeeling, Sikkim, Nagaland, Dimapur, Kohima, anywhere. So life is always at a risk, and personally I think that our hobby can save a lot of people at the same time. So I think it's very important for us, the hams, to navigate the proper use of our hobby to all the people to understand it. As I said, at first I was not interested, because for me, sitting in a room, air-conditioned room, having everything by my side, communicating with people is not fun. And it cannot save my life. I'll always stay in that room only. I'll not be able to come out of that, because that's my comfort zone. And if I step out, if I can help some people, I might not help a lot, but if I can always help a little amount of people, that's what I think is my success in communicating. And I think mentors play a very important role. They help us, they guide you through the way, because anytime I cannot do any sort of thing, I just go to sir and sir, I cannot do this, Nil sir, it's not happening. Or sometimes I get frustrated and I say, sir, you do, I'll see, and next time I won't do this one. But he scolds me, he makes me understand, so you have to learn, you have to understand this one, because then you can only help some other people, because it is not guaranteed that sir will be with me in any kind of emergency. Tomorrow or yesterday, whatever. Disaster doesn't come with an announcement. It can come anytime. So sir always tells to stay prepared. Stay calm, stay prepared, and we have, at everyone's home of Oscar India, we have a disaster kit. So you have all the necessities tucked there, and if some disasters comes, we will just take the bag and go out of the box and we'll help people. So Oscar India's motto is that only, to help people, to let ham radio navigate to more people, and to help the hobby, to help the community. That's all.
Thank you, Aishi, and thank you, Oscar India, for joining us at Larkit today. Kanchan, how about you? What motivates you to keep going after your first contact?
I just feel that first thing that I'll be able to, this kind of situation, even if I land in, let's say, if I do not have a phone or something like that, in worst case, somewhere. So at that point in time, I'll be able to still make a contact through the radio set and help out, even I can. So I think this really motivates most of the people, probably, that and it's quite interesting. It's not just that. I also see that with this hobby, you also meet people who shares common interest as you, who are really into electronics, and they talk about satellites, they talk about rockets, and those sounds fascinating, and you also feel like maybe I can also build something new, or I can also go dig deeper into it. So I am an electronics grad, but after my college, I have landed into software domain. So after that, I have not been in touch with electronics for quite a long time. However, after getting into this hobby, I just see people around doing a lot of cool stuff, and I just feel like maybe one day I also want to do something like that. So I think this is also one of the reasons that wants me to keep going. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kanchan. I would like to invite Farhan to talk about YLs in Lark.
Thanks, Mithali. I have had the privilege of having most of my co-workers as women, both in technology fields and outside technology fields. And I think that vials, especially with radio ham vials, and I've seen a lot of them. In fact, very few people know this, that behind a lot of innovation which has gone into the Bitex radios is a fabulous lady designer called Alison Parent. She has actually helped me a lot, and I've learned a lot from them. And at HF Signals, we see that, all the radios that people use. So actually, most of the radios that people use in India are Bitex radios, and almost all of them are exclusively actually built by these girls. So, we all owe our radios to these girls here who are sitting here. And, at Lamakaan Amateur Radio Club itself, we are very proactively, trying to engage with women and get more of their participation in here. We have a vice president who's a woman. We have Mithali. We have a lot of people. And we hope that, we'll be able to engage with more YLs in the coming days. And thank you very much, Mithali, for hosting this session today.
Thank you, Farhan. On behalf of LARC, I would like to thank VU3OOS, VU3HPC, and all the ladies at HF Signals. Thank you so much. You were an inspiration to YLs. My name is Mithali. I am VU2YUM. I hope this session has been very informative and motivating for you to make more contacts and come back to LARC 9. Thank you so much.
ఏసీకి తప్ప అందరూ ఉన్నారు. Where?
I started coming from the first.
Oh, 2014.
Last year I missed it because one of my uncles in marriage, another one was the tornado came and they got cancelled. That's what last year.
ఎవరెవరు ఉన్నారు? Oh, Rajesh, huh? You are Rajesh, no? Sorry, I couldn't recognize people. Really,
Recently, last 2 years, he was not in HR. Earlier,
No, I never had this call center.
he not started that time. He was not started. When he was there, he was not there. That time,
Vijay? Who is Vijay?
YVK is there.
Here, this one YVK. The
He is
one
into contest. He is into contest more. He is net controller, Joshi net controller, Manju net controller, and
Manju is
Belgaum net control.
Okay, that is Joshi.
Joshi.
And who else?
Hegde.
హెగ్డే వేర్ ఇస్ ఇక్కడ ఇందులో హెగ్డే ఏది
ఎందుకు బీజీజీ
ఎవరు ఈయన
ఇటు పక్కన
You are conversing, so I just waiting. Once you finish, maybe we can start.
Oh, that time will not finish. You have to tell that finish. So many topics will go on coming.
No, you start.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Would like to start the next session with the net controllers. A small interactive session with the net controllers, please. Who is extra? One more person is extra on that. Today we have VU2 BRJ Mr. Joshi ji with us, and VR2 SMS Mr. Manju, and we also have VU2 BGG Mr. Hegde, and VU3 TBU Mr. Rajesh, and we also have VU2 YVK Mr. Vijay, and we also have VU2 PTM Mr. Vikrant. Okay, I am your host for the day. We all know as amateur radio is not just about rigs, antennas, or chasing for the perfect SWR. It is most disciplined and consistent, joyful communication which we know. And these are the voices which brings in all this discipline into our community and who makes our band live, and they are more punctual. Sometimes as a amateur operators, we call it as more than a 7 o'clock or a 6 o'clock. We call it as it is a our Belgaum net time or a air net time. So they so punctual irrespective of the time frames or the day. They maintain lot of discipline. And today I would like to have a good conversation with them. So I just give a mic over to them. All these days we heard them with a very strong signals, weak signals, but they are very confident on the net. Sometimes during the emergencies, they are the best people to pass on the messages and communication across the cities, across the locations, and they give us the contacts if somebody else wanted to contact us. So very grateful. Thank you, sir. And it is not any job title or designation given to them. It is the passion what they have and that consistency. More than anything, the respect in the community. We call them as a net controllers. Thank you very much for keeping the band live and giving us all this enthusiasm and bringing in new amateurs practice their nets or joining the nets. Mic back to all of you. I have a couple of questions. There is no particular question. You can share whatever you feel like. I have few questions to ask. I give the mic over to you, please. जोशी साहब, आप तो बोल सकते हैं व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड यू, आपको क्या इंस्पिरेशन दिया नेट कंट्रोल करने के लिए, कैसे आप चालू किया था, आप बता दीजिए.
Yes. Good morning to all listening on frequency now. I call this as a frequency for the reason that we are much accustomed to frequencies and on the air. So let me introduce myself. I am Viutu Bravo Romeo Juliet Joshi, and presently staying at Belgaum. So I am a retired person. To introduce myself, I am spending my retired life in my own way. Of course, ham hobby is always there. As far as the question relating to the inspiration of controlling the net, as you all are aware, that Hambel Belgaum net is one of the oldest nets in our country. Initially, we to Papa Alpha Lima, Paul was handling it. He handled it very successfully for a number of decades. And that many a times he used to ask me to take the net for a day on any of the weekdays or on Sundays, whatever it may be. So I was a bit hesitant at that time for the reason that I was engaged in my morning QTH and all. And my inclination is that when I accept some assignment, it should always be fulfilled to the fullest. That is, I should give 100%. But I was not in a position to give 100%, so I went on postponing it. Of course, during that time, we to KOC, whom you are well aware of, Om Prakash, he was handling it for a day, that is on Tuesday, which happened to be his holiday. Thereafter, as the days rolled by, and to even earlier to it, one thing before Paul started this net, it all came up with my getting the license somewhere in 1988. When I got the license, it was I was using a very small transceiver QQRP. I was using a small QQRP, which was about 500 milliwatt to 1 watt. It was only on CW. So I requested, and it was a crystal frequency added to that. That is 7050.5. So I went and requested the handset of Belgaum, because I was also staying during that period at Belgaum, and I requested all, whenever you check the Charminar net, I'll be on monitoring mode on Charminar net. The moment you check on Charminar net, please come on this crystal frequency and give me a shout so that I can have a contact with you. The main reason for that is, in those days we were compelled to have 40 QSOs at least in a year. Otherwise, our renewal was not possible. So that was one of the compelling circumstances for me as well. So what I did, I requested the people at Belgaum. At that time, there were about 6-7 people very active holding commercial sets. So I requested them. They used to come, and the process went on. Since it was on HF, many other outstation people also started joining it. So it also took a shape of a net, and ultimately we to Papa Alpha Lima started it as a net and named it as Hambel Belgaum net subsequently. And the frequency was shifted on 7050. What all the history that I've stated now, it's already available on YouTube, which is being streamed live by View to Zulu Mike Kilo Mahendra from Ponda, Goa. So it's his own effort, nobody has requested him to do so. In spite of that, out of his own wish and desire and passion, he has done it. So this is all about Hambel Belgaum net. And anything if you want to add, I can even extend it, Rajesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your nice, good insights from where you started, which inspired you. So nice. I would like to take it with Mr. Manju ji.
After Paul's death, with Papa Alpha Lima's death, it became inevitable for all of us to continue the net. So Om Prakash took the lead, and he insisted me. Thereafter, I also retired from service, and I had also substantial time. So we started doing it very, very efficiently to the best of our ability. All the credit that today we see, it's only on account of you people who check in regularly. So all the credit goes to you. That's what my final and ultimate conclusion that I can say on behalf of AMBEL, it's all you people who make it. It's not the net controllers. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshiji. That is a very humble statement to say, but very patiently listening to all these stations is a most important thing which you have. Thank you very much. Manjuji would like to know what are the most common mistakes where operators do when they are trying to join or check in into the nets, because we all wanted to correct ourselves. We would like to hear it from you. Over to you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. It's VU to Sira, Mike Sira. My name is Manju. And yes, we are all friends. Belgaum Net controllers are all friends for more than 4 decades. And we have such a smooth transition from just an operator from net controllers. So I think the time flies like anything. So we just look back and see our activities all these years. It's really surprising for us. And the question...
most mistakes done by the operators.
Name, I just forgot your name.
Vijay.
Vijay.
Whiskey X-ray Mike.
Vijay posed me a question. So what are the common mistakes happen during the net checking? So it happens with everybody, even if you are not a operator for long. And when we talk to other hams, there are certain procedures we learn and write and pass the exam. But on the air experience is always important. And you must have watched it, it's seamlessly our Belgaum Net is conducted. There are 4, 5, 6 operators and 1 or 2 may miss. Like we today, we are not there. Our friend, senior friend Om Prakash JV to KOC handled it today. And Yasin is there, VU3, Papa Mike Yankee. Like this, whenever we are not present, somebody else is taking the charge and doing it very religiously. So there is no single day we are at home and we are not on the band. And when there are few newcomers always, they are coming onto the net and putting their call signs, when to call it and all, they learn it automatically. If they get some bashing on the air, then they try to correct it. Sometimes we are always soft to them, because if we discourage them initially, so they may never come back to our net. So our first discipline, our forced discipline on us is to be very kind and soft with the newcomers. Even the old timers, many a times you must have heard. So after instructing them very softly, they keep on doing the same kind of mistakes. So we have to take it as usual thing with us. So sometimes people give their call signs, though they are very strong in strength in the signals. They keep repeating their calls. When there are so many stations are trying to break into the net and get listed on the net. So we have to tell them very softly though, to not to repeat your call signs when you are sufficiently strong signal strength you are putting. And it is heeded, sometimes it is not heeded. So, but we don't never mind it. So we just take it to the other who are disciplined. So they carry forward all the activities we do. So from morning 6 o'clock, our actually net starts that way. And the official time what we have done is 7 to 8:30 or 8:45. And yes, there are so many stations. They work with different operators, because different operators have a different setup, different station setup and different antenna orientations, and they catch signal differently for all the different stations there. So there is always a curiosity to know how their signals are reaching hams in Belgaum, though they are located differently. So that is one thing. So anything in your mind, Vijay, you can ask.
No, if you want to add anything, no problem.
No, that is what we enjoy working every day morning.
So nice.
So never we wake up after the sunset. Always we are awake before the sunset and get ready. is coming and when we are firing our salvo.
So nice.
So
sir.
thank you.
So nice.
Thank you
So nice. Thank you, sir. I would like to ask VU to YVK, Oldman Vijayji. You are a net controller as well as you participate in a lot of contests. So what is that your advice for a new rook who is just started the journey in the amateur radio as a hobby? How the contests will help them to improve their confidence, or what kind of a benefits it can bring in, or a skill set can bring in? Anything on related to the contest? What is that advices you want to give it to a new beginners in the hobby? Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Still, I think it is 12. See, when I got my license, I was in a place where no nearby VHF station was there. Up to 200 kilometers, no VHF station. So I have to depend on HF. So I started my HF operation only. So I started with HF. First local nets were, I was posted that time in West Bengal. Near Kharagpur, there is a place called Salboni. That is the Reserve Bank of India currency printing press is there, and I was in charge of that press that time. So there I started my operation. So I started the local net, and the place is so nice place, so less noisy. Whenever I start calling CQ, an antenna was simple G5RB. So I addicted to HF DXing. HF DXing, I can, and daily 4 hours DXing I started doing. Once I started doing DXing, then I went to contesting. That is the next step. Once you do DXing, you learn how to listen. Because there will be some weak signals, very weak signals coming, how to talk to them so that he will not be offended. Weak signals, time and again you have to tell, repeat your call, repeat your call. He should not get offended. You have to learn that trick. What we have to change the call again, call again. So that way I learn this not offending. A similar thing happens on the contest. Contest also some weak signal comes. HF is a very challenging communication, very, very challenging communication. Because here you have to learn how to live with the noise. HF always, each station having different characteristic. No station will be similar. Unlike VHF. VHF net taking is very simple. You are getting signal from the repeater that is always constant, always strong, no noise. So I will advise any newcomers who is coming, he should start DXing first. Whatever equipment he is having, whatever the antenna or whatever is there, try to optimize it. And first thing is very important in HF, you should have a very good antenna. The rig is immaterial. If your antenna is good, you try to acquire best antenna, whatever you can afford, because there is no limit. No limit of acquiring the antenna. So first you should have best, very good antenna, because when I used to do DXing, I used to talk to so many hams throughout the world. I have made more than 10,000 contacts, and my web page is looked by more than 1 lakh. So I used to talk to them. Some of the Japanese, one Japanese station I was talking, and his signal was coming very strong. He told that how much power I told you. He told I am using 100 watt only, but he is having very good antenna, very good Yagi antenna of multiple element, 10 element, something like that, I don't remember. So he spent a lot of money on antenna, not on the rig. There are rigs which is costing 5 lakhs. If you are having a rig of 5 lakhs and put a simple antenna, there is no use. Buy an antenna of 1 lakh or whatever, simple antenna, G5RB, because with G5RB you can do wonders. I started with G5RB, but conditions should be good, your location should be good. So start with a good antenna and try to listen first, then start talking. And then you jump into the contesting. Now that should be your step.
Thank you, Ji. Thanks a lot for that inputs. It is listening is the most important thing to get into the contest. So it is not only sending our signals, we have to receive appropriately, and having a good antenna is the most important one than the rig. It's wonderful. Thank you very much for your input, sir. And I would like to ask a question to Mr. Rajesh. Mr. TBO would like to know, like if one operator constantly checking into the nets, got it, besides the confidence, do you think that he will be more confident in answering any emergency communications anytime? Or any one of the panel members, have you anytime received any emergency communication and it helped someone? If you could share that, it would be a wonderful information for everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, all. Myself, VU3 Tango Bravo Uniform, and handle is Rajesh. And first of all, let me be grateful and thankful to those community here. They kept this hobby up and running till this year, because I'm a new ham, just 5 years now. And my gratitude to all these people, those who are sitting here, and I'm grateful to be here. And it's a privilege, because this is the first ham fest I started coming before I become a ham. And I'm on the stage sitting now. Thank you to Lark for that opportunity here. And the question is actually, I'm not qualified to answer that question till now, because I have not faced any emergency communication situation in ham radio till now. But I'm privileged to tell you that I'm one of the operator or net controller. I have taken all the nets of HF till now. I have taken Belgaum net, those who know Belgaum net from many, many decades. And Charminar net I have taken, where V2 HSM used to take. And AirNet India 7150 every day evening, if you don't know that. And there are other two nets also, 7085 and 70880. These all nets I have taken. I got a privilege to take these nets. And I'm thankful to those who are listening to me. Even I have told many people not to call many times with a different tone. Because I have seen many strong stations have less confidence than the QRP stations. They are afraid that their signal is not reaching. I have only one request from my experience.
But some 400 kilometers away. So for Keralian family, they may always see Maharashtra as one city, like sometimes. So that was the happiness I got, means I could able to at least pass on the message. So we used to ROE, Ronnie, and some Mumbai boys also visited Latur and stayed there for 2 weeks, and they helped there. And that has happened. It is happening. Now the communication is improved a lot, and emergencies come very rarely. But we are always ready to help others.
So
that
nice,
is
so nice to help in emergencies when all the regular
and that
communication
time I
is
had
down.
my hombrewed equipment only. No commercial set was there. So you had to listen, as Rajesh told just now. So it's and Vijayda. So it's a hobby of listening. So you have to be very keen on listening.
Patient.
Your ears are tuned to signals, and the noises are very high than the signals. So you have to just take out the intelligence from that noise. So that's why HF is very exciting compared to VHF and UHF. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will give one instance. This is before I got my license. I used to listen. I was having an Sony rig, very good rig. SSB I can receive. I was traveling to Japan. I was traveling via Singapore. We got some money from our allowance. So first thing I purchased this radio in Singapore. So I was listening with this. So there is a big cyclone in Odisha. All communication was snapped. I was listening. A column of army was moving from Ramgarh in Bihar to Odisha. In that frequency, that I was listening continuously. That frequency, they announced some 3-4 numbers. Only working in Odisha, from where you can get the information about your relatives and other things. There, that time, this number I flashed to my notice board. This number you can call, you will get it, because a lot of Odisha employees were there. So they got benefit out of this. This is the price of listening. I was listening. I used to listen a lot. That time I was not licensed, but I used to listen ham communication also. So with that I used to get a lot of addresses and talk to them on telephone. And similarly, one Saad Ali was there, very famous ham in Bombay. I got his address, I written about that I want to be ham. So he sent me a lot of reading material, books and all he sent. That is, I got benefited out of that listening habit.
Listening habit in and emergency numbers also. That's a good one, sir. Thank you for sharing. Hegdeji, I would like to ask you, as a net controller, okay, which we would like to know is that how do you prepare your station in the morning to conduct a net? What is that you prepare on your station? And what are the equipments you have which helps you complete your net controlling? Please.
Thank you, Vijay, for giving me this opportunity. I am VU2 Bravo Golf handle Hegde from Belgaum. BRJ said in the beginning he was very hesitant to conduct the net. In fact, I am in the same state now. I am fairly new to compared to KOC, BRJ and Ceramic Sira. So they always pressuring me to conduct net. I got my license in 1995, but I was not operating for a long time. 2019 onwards, I started station. Now, for the preparing the net, first thing is you have to get up early. So that is difficult for me. That is the one reason, and I have to finish my walk. Anyway, so I have more than our equipment, we have to, as Vijay ji said, we have to have a very good antenna so that we can listen. So listening is very important. And in that way, DXing helped me a lot, because you hear to DX stations very weak. So that helped me in preparing for the net, because lot of noise will be there, especially in 40 meter, and doubling, lot of people will be calling. So listening, she is always very important while preparing net. And in the beginning, I used to get thirsty because of the tension. So I always used to keep water. And so a lot of things, learning curve. Now I'm very confident. And also we have to have like a multitasking. Because in the beginning, when we take control the net, if we don't know the name, it's okay. We can just call sign and say thank you very much for checking. But now we have to tell their names also. Then obviously when I call, if the net controller recognizes my name, I would be very happy. So that is the one preparation. So for that, BRJ, it's a secret, trade secret. Yeah, we have to have a chart or a QRZ page.
Wow.
So that is one. And my station, as mentioned, I am pretty like a decent station I have. I have FTDX10 and antenna for 40 meters, so it's a dipole antenna. But recently, myself and SMS, we built, like we do lot of home brewing. We started with rotator using windshield wiper motor and gear, and also pull-up mast and hex beam. Now latest project we did is this OptiBeam 9 element 5-band Yagi. Nice. So lot of home brewing, we have a lot of antenna. So that is the setup. And always like TBU said, even though I am in a teaching profession for like over the 30 years, always when we get to the stage, we'll get to go to a class, I have to prepare. Similarly, to take a net control, mentally we have to be prepared, and a lot of preparation, like mental preparation is necessary, and all other these things. So it is always challenging, and we don't know like what condition it would be today. Then we have to be prepared for that.
We have to wait for the real conditions, propagations.
Oh, no. Irrespective of condition, propagation, net will start 7 to... Ready. Yeah, we have to be ready. And DXing helped me a lot. I do a lot of DXing in the night. So nice. That helped me. So now I am very confident of taking net. So I am a little bit junior.
Power failure, how do you handle while you are doing net controlling? Which is the most common one which we face.
Yeah, power failure.
Room temperature.
Room temperature. Yeah, power failure. So we have a very dedicated team. Kilo Oscar Charlie, BRJ, SMS, and Mahantesh, X-Ray Foxtrot Hotel, and Ashok. So even I am in a controlling net doesn't mean that I am alone. So they will be backup, either KOC, BRJ. Immediately they will sense, like if there is a pause of like 30 seconds, immediately other person will take over. Now challenge for me is CW. Even though I got like a 20 word per minute CW receiving capability, that was like more than 10, 15 years back, 15, 20 years back. Now I am little bit rusty, so I am practicing. Some stations come on CW, then I have some difficulty in decoding.
The Elmer's would be a 30 words per minute.
No, yeah, now I'm practicing. Maybe in another month or so, I'll be equipped with. But it is really a challenging. Maybe BRJ, SMS, it comes naturally. But for me, like some adrenaline will be rushing, and room temperature. Belagaum, fortunately, it's a very cool weather. Otherwise we'll be sweating like 5 or 10 stations calling together. Earlier I used to like get tensed. Now I know how to handle it. No, yeah.
Sir, you've taken away my next question. Actually, that is what I wanted to ask everybody. How you people handle your QTH QRMs?
See, there is a saying, if you cannot beat them, join them. So I made my wife ham. So she got, yesterday she got her call sign.
Oh, congratulations to your ex-wife.
Yeah, but I have very wonderful support from my wife. So all birthday, marriage, I'll give her a radio or amplifier gift, and I'll use it.
So nice, sir. So nice. Thank you. Yeah, please, please.
Okay. Okay, when our BGG referred about his ex-wife becoming ham, I recollected one thing. Generally, we give priorities to certain net controllers, to doctors and all, which you are well aware of. And somebody asked a question, why do you give priority to YLs? Since they are not in any doctor's field or in net controlling, and what is the importance for them to take on priority? So our very good, witty and very sensitive person viewed to KOC just gave a very nice witty reply. He said, if I give priority to your XYL, so she will be in a position to prepare you tea and coffee, whatever beverages you would like, or the tiffin for that matter, very quickly. So you are in the plus side, not on the negative side. That's what he said. So on a lighter humor side. So before concluding, shall we have some questions from others also?
Yeah, we will take, sir. I need to ask one more from the PTM. Sir, I would like to know one interesting question is, how do you manage your logbook? As a net controller, in a day, you might have a 30 to 40 HF contacts in the morning, maybe in the evening, another 30, 40. So do you manage it digitally, or still you are following your logbooks? What is it? What is your bulk of, or tell me your collection of logbooks, how many you have? We would like to know, because as a net controllers, we haven't seen the other side of the table. We just log in. For us, it is a 2 entries per day. For you, it is comes in 100. So how do you manage your logbooks? Please, sir.
Sorry to disappoint you. I have been ham for, 30 years now. I had my license back in 96. But after 96, I moved out of India and to the places where there was no reciprocal or there was no chance for an expat to have a license. So I am not a controller to start with. I'm as new as any other ham who are on the air very often whenever I'm in India, or now I moved to US where I got my US license. So I am trying to get back onto the band now. So probably I think the veterans can give the answer for that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the logbook is digitally, we try. Many times what happens, after so many years, almost 90% of the hams we know by name. So otherwise we have to quickly search the chart and find out. Because if you don't address somebody with name, so we don't feel very friendly with that person. So we write it down. The paper log we found most convenient. And whenever the DXing is done, digital logging is always compulsory like. So QRZ or LOTW, club log, they are there. And yes, interesting, Vijayda is really a motivator for us to go on the contesting. So always we look forward for contesting. And Egreji, we as a combined project, we made 2 antennas. I have made 1 tri-bender with homemade rotator and all. And finally he cheated me. He bought a commercial rotator. My rotator, I have to come out and see where the direction of the antenna is. Only safety precaution is the limiting switches are there. It will stop at one end or the other end. So paper log is always a convenient thing, because you have to be very quick to respond to the calling stations. Because even digitally, it takes little bit time. Even a half-second delay is something you are not attentive like that. So.
I would prefer those who are not logging online, please come online, because this era is online logging era. I have 57,000 logs online. Means per year it is 10,000 logging. So I get confirmation and I do confirm to all. And for name, seeing the name online log is easier if you start practicing it. No need to remember the names of all, it's not practically possible. Maybe 100 we can manage the regular ones, but not the new ones. Thank you.
Yes. That is true, that is true.
Okay.
Yes, we are like in a hybrid kind of logging, we are still continuing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rajesh, you have taken the mic, so I would like to ask the next question. What is that if a operator logging in with a very QRP? Do you think that you people are comfortably able to hear them, or as a QRP operator to check in into the nets? What are the suggestions you want to give it for the QRP stations?
Yeah, that's a nice question. I prefer QRP stations because most of the time it is challenging and we like challenges in life. Strong stations very easily audible, so there is no challenge in listening to them. And if they are trying for a QRP with a QRP, give the first few moments for the higher powerful stations because they will be anyway shouting. And after that, you can give your call with a QRP so that your call will get attention more than that powerful stations. That's a request I have because the first few seconds are most crucial for all the 10 stations will call at the same time, and only 3 will get copied. After that, if you give the call sign, it will be easily copied. I have copied all the QRP stations who tried with me till now, maybe because of the RX, but it's not the facility everyone will have. All the times the noise levels may not be the same, and that will be a challenging, but always QRPs are welcome.
Would like to add to Rajesh a sentence. To his reply, I would like to add something. That is, what I would prefer is the QRPs, they have their own problem, they have their own passion towards QRP and all, you admit. At the same time, what I personally feel, I prepare myself to copy the weakest to weakest stations as far as possible. That's always my target towards QRP. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice. 2 years back when I used to check in into the Belgaum net, the moment I say QRP, out of all the strongest signals, they used to give me a preference to come in the first. Because of the propagations or whatsoever, because the controller was able to hear me on a QRP, they used to give me the chance before all strong stations. Thanks to all of you. Any questions from the audience?
Just a minute. Before that,
please, sir.
Since your questions are exhausted, I have formed my own question and answer for the same also myself. The question is, what is the significance and importance of a net? This was lingering in my mind because everybody just when you introduce a newcomer, when he comes to his shack and sees all your equipments and all the nets that you conduct and all, the first thing that strikes his mind is that saying QRU 73 and running away. What is this? There's no meaning in that. He doesn't find any charm or thrill or something in that. So I thought of just thinking out of the box. What to me will be the significance and importance? Because it's going on for the last many, many years. Endless it is going. It's going on very regularly, promptly, with all zeal and enthusiasm. Net controllers take up. So what is the main reason or the significance or importance of this? Then an answer popped up to me. In these busy days, first of all, let me clarify you that hams, they have their own set of mind. I mean to say, if they do not operate for a day, their shack, they feel something, they have lost something of the routine of their day. So with this in mind, so since they are not in a position due to time constraints and all, they are unable to come up and give a CQ call, answer or join a group or whatever it may be the method of communicating with others on the air. But this net comes to their aid because with their limited time, with their limited management of their activities, they can within 2 or 3 minutes they can come and check and go and satisfy themselves that yes, they have operated the band today. That's the sort of satisfaction they get. And one more thing important is, any equipment or any machinery or whatever it may be, you are not sure until you test it daily and be sure that it is in working condition. The nets in one way, though we are busy in our own way, this helps a lot and gives confidence in the station that he is ever ready at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is wonderful. Sir. Go ahead, sir.
One thing I will add it, this checking pattern. I am also net controlling, VHF net controlling to Bangalore TW repeater, the oldest repeater in India. Not net controlling, managing net controlling also, 3-4 net controllers, and keeping log of all the nets. I have found a definite pattern of each check-in stations. Somebody will check alternate day, somebody will check after 2 days. I have a full pattern. So, and somebody is very serious. Daily he will check morning and evening. So there are different types of people. Their pattern is different. So you can understand how serious he is.
Propagation को track करते वैसे आप check-in को भी track कर रहा है.
No, taking because VHF में it is easy. Propagation is not important. VHF propagation is not. But they are checking behavior when they will check. So now slowly I start predicting. How many stations come today, it will come, which day, how much will come. So I have a record of 3 years record. I am logging each net. So I am not net controller, but I sit in the radio, and in my family they know from 8:30 to 9, nobody should disturb me. No, don't go there. Nobody will not listen anything.
So nice, sir. So nice. It's so great. Anybody have any questions? Around.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to raise a question to you all. Because most of the people sitting are there. Every day I come in net. Only the thing is before 7 o'clock only. Before 7 o'clock, around 6:30 to 6:50, the net will be very, very clear. It's audible. And after 7, the noise level goes up to 8:15 or so. Some stations, even the net controller voice also, I am unable to hear. That's what happening. First of all, I would like to know from you all that what is the purpose of net? Why we are controlling the net? Just to hear 5.9 plus 10 dB, 5 dB like that? Or just any purpose is there behind that? And one thing, my interest is some technical information I would like to know from the net. If any such a type of short discussions, if you put every day for 5 minutes or so, that would be very, very useful. The people who are not able to communicate, or they can listen, they can learn something from the technical discussion, from the net control. That's what my call sign is VU2 IKY, QTH is Guntur. My name is Dr. Prithviraj. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, thank you Dr. Prithviraj Garu. I very well remember you answering and you checking into the Belgaum net. Thank you very much. As far as your first part of the question about the QRM and all is concerned, and even prayer net also, many of the people join there and all is concerned. As far as QRM is concerned, we have to do our own ways and means to suppress as far as possible the QRM and copy the weakest stations also. QRM is not a self-made this thing, or it's not exclusively for oneself to be troubled with. We are all there and facing that problem, no doubt true. So as a net controller and net management system, we can't help in curtailing the QRM. At the most, we can suggest you to see and find your own ways and means how best you can suppress the noise. Here I recollect an example when Om Prakash was really sort of a hell in his head that he was saying he had so heavy QRM. It was only due to this TV amplifier which was passing, that line passing, and the amplifier which was beside his house that was going. He identified that, asked that person to remove it. That also did not work long. Thereafter, he developed his own he bought one noise eliminator and suppressed it. So that's what we can do. And as far as your second part of your question, that has already been explained about the significance and significance of the net and all already been stated. But what we can learn new is, we are always trying to introduce new things. For example, there was one Dr. Oscar Kubek, something last letter exactly I do not remember now. He is from Kankoli. Dr. Prakash something, Prakash Bhavdankar from Kankoli. He once asked me that on a particular day there is some important thing might have happened around the world. So I will just daily, can you permit me to for a half a minute or so to say something about the significance of that particular day. So we allowed him and he was doing it. But now I think you got my point that the significance of that day. I mean, so some inventions might have taken place on that day. He was reporting that on this day, this was day, today is the day, we have to remember this scientist. And also on a daily basis, so whatever science and other associated things were happening, if that on that particular day it was relevant, so he was saying that and giving about, taking about half a minute to 1 minute. So now he is not available. So whenever anybody comes up and wants to join us and contribute to the net, most welcome. We are always open for that learning process. So to conclude, one thing I say, till the last breath, learning is on. When the breath is off, learning is off. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other queries?
This is VU2 Juliet Charlie Hotel. Very familiar, all the net controllers repeating my call sign every time in the band. So, this is handle is Mastan and the call sign is VU2 JCH from Hyderabad. Just I want to know from your words that what are the suggestions for the newcomers to check in the HF nets? Because in some of the cities like Vijayawada or some other remote locations where there is no VHF, nets will be controlled. So can you give me any suggestions for the newcomers or to check in the HF nets? What protocol needs to be followed and something like that? Because it's very helpful for the newcomers to check in the net.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mastan. I could not recognize you because we have already had eyeball KSO in Belgaum once. And but you are a very sweet person. After warning also, you keep repeating the same kind of mistakes earlier, not now. So, but never, you never mind to take it negatively. That is one quality of a person. And newcomers, they don't have to be very hesitant. They should come on the air. That is our priority. So slowly they get to know what they are committing mistakes, or we don't call it mistake. It's a learning process, because we all are from the same stage. Once we were like that. So holding the microphone and speaking to the microphone, nobody is watching you, but still you are hesitant. So that happens with everybody. So always try to join the net. Instead of working individual stations and trying to call somebody, better join nets and you will come to know so many hams, and the procedures quickly will learn, because hams are very rare community and the numbers are still very small, and the active hams are very minuscule, very minute numbers. So we should always encourage everybody. So it's not something Rajesh was quite blunt to say they are shouting and all, but I don't use that word. So sometimes we feel like, but we cannot use that expression to tell the other guy, because he may be excited and he must be calling 2-3 times because he has a doubt that his signals are not reaching. But once it is, recently I softly said, yes, Mr. X, I have heard you 4 times calling me, you are 5, 9 plus 10. So that other guy should understand that he is repeating unnecessarily, because he is blocking other QRP or small stations to transmit his signals and get received. That is one problem happens if you keep on repeating the call signs, as Rajesh pointed out. He has correctly pointed out the problem. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
Just add 2 points. Not this. Okay, Mastan, good morning. So I just want to have 2 points for the newcomers, because I am a newcomer. First thing, listen to the frequency continuously and understand how other people are checking into the net. Second thing, when we are checking it to the first time, I used to write down like VU2 KOC, VU3 TVO, good morning Om Prakash ji, you are this report, and whatever we want to say, all things you write down and you read it first until you make it practice regular. That is my 2 options only. 1, listen to the frequency regular. Second, write it down and say it when you are checking in. Later it will become automatic habit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other queries?
I fully, just to conclude it, I fully endorse with Rajesh. That's just listen, listen and listen. You'll become experienced and expert, and you'll come to know while giving the call sign what's the blank spot over there, so that you can give your call sign so that the net controller can copy it. So that art and all, only by listening you can acquire it. That's what I would like to add, which Rajesh has also said the same thing.
Yeah, good. Nice and wonderful session. Very knowledgeable and informative. This is VU3 Yankee X-ray X-ray. My handle is Sharma, AP Sharma, QTH Hyderabad. Sometimes I'm new to this ham radio, using for last 1 year. We miss that VU2, VU3 always that communication. Sometimes we say 3, 2. So is it okay, or like supposed to be the right is the right always, but sometimes when we miss it hurts. Is it correct or okay or something? Because again we go back and I check in the QRZ also, like what is this and address and all. So just I want to know, like sometimes we miss unknowingly or by mistake. Just I want to get clarity.
Sir, the question is VU2 and the call sign, or VU3 or call sign. कभी कभी ना गलती से 2 का जगह पे 3 बोल देता है, 3 का जगह पे 2 बोल देता है, तो is it okay or we have to follow the same?
See, to err is human. When the moment we come to know that we have done some error, we apologize for that. Whether it is the person who checks in and giving his call sign, certainly he cannot give his call sign wrongly. It is only the net controllers who may be at error and made a mistake in calling. That's the moment they realize, they correct it. We 2s and 3s to the best of our ability. We always try to classify and see and confirm whether it is VU2 or VU3, and these days it has still become much difficult, because other 20 to 29 and 30 to 39 prefixes is added. So these are all things we must be more attentive. Except this, I don't think there's any mistake in this thing. It's normal. Right is always right, as you rightly pointed out. That it's always agreed and there's no dispute about it. So it's always to pronounce it correctly. That's what is expected also. I hope I answered to your question. Anybody else want to?
Yes, yes, now more digits have come, and some say 32, some say 32 or 33. That's over a period of time, it will have a new pattern. Yes, Joshiji rightly pointed out, I can forget my name but not my call sign. So that is the situation. So because we are so fond of our call signs and our our day-to-day ham activity is prioritized in our life. So every day without the ham radio, our ham radio sets operating, our day doesn't begin. So it will be like that. Vijay ji want to say something?
See, your call sign is unique. You remember that this call sign is unique throughout the world. No similar call sign exists throughout the world. Like each plane is flying with their unique call sign. So you should never do a mistake in pronouncing your call sign. That is my suggestion.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So whenever we are copying the other's call sign, we might go wrong. If the other person repeats it, it is always better to correct ourselves. So thank you very much for that clarity.
Yes, the net controller has a difficulty because many a times the station calling doesn't give his numbers, then prefix correctly. Then we have to guess, because within that short period, if we don't find that call sign in our list, then we may say 2 instead of 3 because we doesn't want to hurt that person. If that person is VU2, if we call them VU3, he gets hurt. That's why we call him 2 only, because upgrading is a call sign.
But if you are doing mistakes, now you are losing points.
Yeah. In the contest, you should be 100% perfect. So there is no scope for any mistake. You lose the points. So that's why your ears are so tuned after contesting, means you're taking part in the contest. No matter few contacts you make and submit and that procedure and all, it gives great happiness for the ham radio operators. So always encourage you all to participate in the contest. There are so many international contests. Only ARSI contests are not popular because they are not made popular. So we remember all WPX contests, CQWW contests, and so many digital contests are there. We remember, just wait for the contest to come. But ARSI contests are not very well planned, not well rewarded.
Yes, sir. I recently heard one more error which is happening with our new call signs. Nothing wrong with the call sign, but VU222 and the numbers. But when whoever is participating with this new call sign, VU22, the other person is just copying VU2 and rest of the things, missing the one more 2, thinking that they are just repeating the second 2. And they lost in the contest. Rajesh ji, yeah.
Now, whatever is the reason stopping you, it will change after few days. So never stop the hobby.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, just now, like the discussion is going on about checking net and procedures. Just I want to add one more thing, maybe Vijay ji will second me. Not only checking net, please come as much as on DXing. Like if you go, whenever you get time, 20 meters or 10 meters, because lot of, less Indians are participating in DXing and also contesting. One problem with that is, in contesting, they don't turn their antenna towards India or Asia, mostly in Europe. So we have to make our presence felt in a band, so that because recently one DX whiskey DX stations, lot of DX stations, they were so happy to receive Indian stations because then their points will be higher. So similarly, we also get a lot of response from the Caribbean stations. So I encourage more and more people to be participating in DXing and contest. That is maybe.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks a lot. Anybody else have any queries? Looks like none. Sabjit, thank you very much for the panel to join this discussion and sharing their experiences and advices. Thank you very much. Hoping that with this, our activity will be still alive and more and more people will join the nets to test their equipments or keep the band live and going forward and enjoy the spirit of amateur radio hams. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Yes. on behalf of Hamel Net and other net controllers and persons who have shared the dice on behalf of all of them, I thank Lamakaan for providing us this opportunity. A big thank you, and thank you to the audience as well. Bye-bye.
One photograph. सब मिलके ले लेंगे सर, उधर कैमरामैन है। अभी ले लो भाई, खड़े हो जाओ। We will take 1 second, चलो।
ये लगा के देखो, ये आ रहा बोले तो फिर उस केबल में प्रॉब्लम होगा। पहले फिर वापस ये लगा के देख लो। वो एक बार लगा देखिए क्या आता है। हाँ वो आ रहा है, ये नहीं आ रहा है, केबल गोल है, इसका मतलब है मे बी दिस केबल इज नॉट कनेक्टेड टू दैट। No, is this cable same as the cable which is connected there? Yes, sir. Then that cable is giving problems, I think. No, that thing should come immediately. We can put that smaller cable there and see. Oh, you have another cable. Let's do that. explore a phasing receiver or a transmitter or whatever, it basically scratches a personal itch. The LARC set is not designed for that. The LARC set is essentially designed for people, to get people back, even if you have the most minimum of soldering skills, to get you back to building your own radios. So it's designed with a whole completely different set of expectations and design criteria, right? Okay. So this is the first radio that I designed a long time ago. It's almost a quarter century old now. And this was designed to be a 6 watts radio for 14 megahertz SSB only, locally available parts. And it would cost you about $1,000 or $20 to make this if you made it yourself. That is, you did not do, have your own PCB, you did not even buy your own box. You basically, build it the way that you wanted to. The idea here was that it used parts which are ordinarily available to people, and if one specific part is not available, you could always use a substitute. For example, you don't have a 2N2222 transistor, you can use an SL100. If you don't have an SL100, you can use a BC348, BC147, or whatever transistors you could lay your hands on. So it allowed for there was a lot of design margin, and it allowed for substitution. Although it was not designed really to be replicable, but rather than easy to build, because though that was just the amount of limited technology chops that I had with me. And there were a lot of problems also, being one of the first radios that I built. I had built other radios earlier than R60 and all that, but this was the first time that you're building an original radio. Okay. But now, a lot of people say, actually, Dave used to say, V2D, we used to say that we live in the golden age of home brewing. That is, the amount of information available. Earlier, you just had one book called the ARRL handbook, and that probably we had one copy in the state, and that was passed around, and we sort of photocopied it, and that was about 8 or 10 years old. But now on the internet, it's very easy to be part of the international community of builders. Getting parts is very easy, whether it's from Amazon to everybody else, kits and spares. There are a lot of these things. Adafruit. So, sorry, yeah, okay. Volume, it'll boom here. So, anyway, so now things are changing, and the idea now is that, unfortunately, if you, for example, picked up the old QST radios, issues of the QST magazine of 1970s and 80s, you would see a lot of very simple to build radios. But now the radios are extremely, extremely complicated. Earlier, the radio circuit the entire radio circuit could fit into one A4 size page, and you could understand what was there. Now you require a whole, about 50, 60 pages. You look at IC7300, it's about 25 pages of circuitry. Hello? Can't see any difference. Okay. So, one such initiative was done by Bill and Dean into CQR and KK4DAS to build a direct conversion radio. Now their approach was, we will not give you the kit of parts, we will not give you anything at all, just information and lot of inspiration to build this, and you have to build it yourself. The circuit is very simple, but you build it yourself. The only critical part was that the tuning was a problem. So RK here actually is the guy who designed the tuning mechanism, which you see here. That's a 3D printed part, in which is basically very simple. It holds 2 nuts, and there's a brass screw which is going into it. You can actually see the threads of the screw. So this is actually a screw which goes in and out, and it changes the inductance, and that is how you tune the local oscillator. It's called a direct conversion radio. Very simple to build. You can probably build one in 2 hours time, but it gives immense amount of fun. And what has happened is, surprisingly, about more than 100 of these have been built. Without any kits, parts, whatever speaker you can get your hands on. Some people actually have, instead of this, they have used those glue sticks, which have this thing where the glue comes in and out. lipstick-like thing. So they've used those for tuning mechanisms, etc. But we are now getting back. So the idea was to get us back to building, and to have a radio which is very easy to build and also very cheap to build. Because usually what happens is that if you want to build a radio, you say, okay, like the BitX 20. You say, oh, fine, it's about $20 worth of components. You say, I'll buy $20 worth of components. But then you require an oscilloscope worth $300. You require a spectrum analyzer worth about $1,000. You require a lab, almost worth about $5,000 to bring it up. But so if you take those constraints away and say, we need to design something which has enough design margins so that it doesn't require all this test equipment, which can be built easily, which will work repeatedly, right? So what will that be? So that's the Lark set. A couple of important points was that it has to do both SSB and CW, Morse code, right? And the reason is this, that at 5 watts, you are lucky if you can check into Ham-Belgamnet, right? And get a 5.7 or a 5.6, usually 5.5. But to hold a comfortable conversation on SSB consistently every day, day by day, is very difficult on SSB when you're operating QRP, when you're operating low power. You don't want to go high power because it's very expensive if you want to do high power. You need RF transistors, you need, fatter power supplies. The entire thing becomes very expensive to do, okay? The other important thing was it has to be all analog. And it's important to have an all analog radio because basically all radios or everything is analog, right? Digital is only a layer of how we perceive things to be, but the world is analog. So if you want to understand radios, build it by understanding, the only thing that you have to start with is an analog radio. Then you can progress to digital radios and SDRs, etc. Then there should be no compromise on performance itself. High performance, it's like saying, tasty food. Tasty food does not mean expensive food, right? It doesn't mean that you have to go to a 5-star hotel to have it. Same thing with radio design also, that there can be very good design which doesn't cost a lot of money, right? 2 hours assembly time. So actually, if you measure how much time you're going to put to assemble it without accounting for tea, coffee breaks and snacks and people coming and, or you getting tired of it and doing it again. So over a number of, let's say, evenings, half an hour each, in 4 evenings you can complete it, or you can complete it in 2 hours, whichever way, okay? The other thing was it has to be understandable. By that what I mean is you should know what each part is doing. And once you know that, then you can change it, which is where I come to the next one, which is changeable. You should be able to take a 40-meter transceiver, convert it to 15-meter band or 18-meter band, go from lower sideband to upper sideband. CW, SSB is there. What about adding a PLL and SI53, 51 to it or whatever. So all that is possible. And it should cost very low. See, the idea is that it should cost so low that you can afford to try it and not be afraid to lose that much money, right? So ideally it should cost about 2,000 rupees, which is I think where the cost of the bill of material for this is. Usually what happens is when we say that it costs 2,000 rupees, we say it will cost 2,000 rupees if you go out, buy your own components, lay out your own PCB, edge your PCB at home, etc., etc. No. I meant that the kit itself should be less than 3,000 rupees, which is about, $30. So what we have now is the world's cheapest transceiver actually, really. There is no other radio anywhere in the world which sells for this low an amount, which is $30, anywhere in the world, ever. Okay. The cost, the purchasing power of the dollar has actually come down. So given that, it's still, miracle that for $30 we are actually shipping these to all parts of the world. Second thing is it's entirely open source. That is, there's no copyright on this. The earlier radios that we had, like SBitX and BitX, etc., they were all copyright of HF signals. This is not copyrighted at all. It is under general public license. And the original copyright holder is Lamakaan Amateur Radio Club. Okay. So everything from the PCB layouts, the Gerber files, everything is an open source. We will encourage people to kit it themselves or order their own, set of PCBs or slightly modified. For example, add a microcontroller and an SI5351 if you want to. You can use that as a jump point. Easy to build, easy to understand, easy to change, and we are back to analog. So the inspiration is the original BitX, and a few points to be noted there is that all ARRL books that we were getting at that time use these things called toroids. I had never seen a toroid in my life, and impossible to get them around that time, right, in India. So if you see here, actually, apart from somewhere here, there are no coils used anywhere here at all. There is just one here and one there. But everywhere else, it's a design with only resistors, capacitors, and transistors. The idea is that, and that too, these transistors were originally the BC 147 and 547 transistors that cost less than 1 rupee in the local market. So there is no need to tune around, no need to wind too many coils. You could have done this very easily. And what we did here is, you'll see that with every transistor, there is a resistor from the base to the collector. So what it does is, whatever is being amplified, a part of it actually goes back to the base, input again. That's called a feedback amplifier. And the idea of a feedback amplifier is that it's like having an accelerator and brake simultaneously on a car. So you can very carefully control the speed at which the car is going. A feedback mechanism is like that. I mean, the feedback is sort of a brake to how much gain is there. So the gain is very accurately controlled in these. Op-amps use feedbacks regularly. And instead of using toroids, I found that the tap washers could be used to build this radio. So it was easy to build. This is now, apart from being easy to build, it reused a lot of components. Hang on, I'll actually go back there. That's possibly easier to show. So, if you see these transistors, they are pointing in this direction, these 3 transistors. And from the top, you'll see that those 3 are actually pointing in the other direction. So, rest of the circuit are the same. And it's over exactly the same path. That is, this is the carrier. Carrier comes out and it gets modulated by the mic amplifier. It comes through this transistor. The ladder filter will filter out the other sideband. Another buffer amplifier, then it mixes down from this local oscillator to 14 megahertz and it gets out, right? Now when it's receiving, the received signal comes in here, gets amplified a little, gets mixed by this, converts to the intermediate frequency, only one sideband is selected, then the IF amplifier, then comes back to the same mixer, which is now acting as a demodulator with the same BFO, and then it basically amplifies here into the speaker. So it's called a bidirectional radio because the 90% of the circuitry is the same between the receiver and transmitter. So it's not only easier to build, but it's also very cheap to build. So that was bidirectional. Okay. Earlier, there were these experts, right, like VU2NR, VU2RM, and they basically had some magic about them that they would get the designs right. Actually, that's what we thought, but that was not true. They had so much patience to just keep on experimenting until they got the bloody thing working. They are my elders and everything, but they had no idea why it was working or why it was not working. Because the maths behind it was too complicated to be done by hand. Okay. We all, in our engineering studied network theory, but it was almost impossible to apply it regularly until you had access to a large, computer. But now PCs can do this. So for example, this is an RF bandpass filter. Okay. One thing to note is it's perfectly symmetrical. There is an inductor here, inductor here. There's a capacitor here, the capacitor here, the capacitor, capacitor. And in between there's a central capacitor. इसको पूरा निकाल दो. So now here, if you see this, these are the values that we need, okay? And this is the expected performance, which is, this is showing you how much loss is there. So the lower you come, the greater the loss. It peaks exactly at about, the cursor is at 7 megahertz, right? So right there, there's a good performance. But what happens is this should not be too narrow. If it's too narrow, then all these values become very critical and you won't be able to handle these values. So we have designed this filter so that even if you've, screwed around a little and, got the wrong values in, it will still work. So it's broad enough. It's about 0.5 megahertz wide. So the RF filter itself has been designed such that, it's less sensitive to errors of production. This is the crystal filter. Now, actually, we were just discussing this offline before we started this, that the crystal filter basically is the key element which defines how sweet or bad a radio sounds, because it basically defines the frequency response here. And this one, it's called an overcoupled one, where you see that there are two peaks instead of there being one. Right? So if there are a number of resonators and you actually, overcouple them, you get multiple peaks. And as you keep reducing the coupling, those peaks will merge into one, and at some point in time, the peak will become so narrow that it will become lossy as well, and the losses will keep happening, and this will actually keep dropping down. Okay? Now, this has been purposefully designed with two peaks. And the reason for that is that the human voice concentrates energy in two bands. One is between about 300 hertz to 600 hertz, and the other is between about 1.5 kc to about 2 kc. So you'll see that this is actually 1 kilohertz each. It has peaks exactly in those two places, which is why when you listen to this radio, it sounds very nice. This is the feedback amplifier that I was talking about, and again, there are now software like this software is by W7ZOI, where if you just plug in these values of how much the feedback is, the emitter degeneration is, and press the calculate button, it will tell you what the gain of this amplifier is going to be. So it simplifies a lot of design details. Okay, then the diode mixer. So earlier, for example, if you see here, this is from the ARRL handbook. It says Schottky diode mixer, and the old timers will remember that the ARRL handbooks used to insist that they have to be Schottky diodes, which are impossible to get in India. But that was just a myth. You could have used a 1N4148 which cost 50 paise, and it would have worked just equally well. And I had no idea that it would work until on a lark, I actually build one. You see that there are 4 diodes there are 4 diodes here, right? Using TV transformer, these are called TV balloons. The old black and white TV used to have them. And I found a place in Lajpat Rai market near Chandni Chowk, Delhi, which were actually selling these. And I bought 1,000 of them for lifetime supply. But now regular toroids are available. The beauty of a diode mixer is it's bidirectional, which means I can feed an IF and take out the RF. I can feed the RF and take out the IF. So both ways it will mix, right? And the mixers otherwise are very notoriously difficult to tame because every frequency is coming out of it. So to filter it and all that was a big problem. Whereas this is broadband. This design will work from microwaves down to audio frequencies, if the transformers can handle those frequencies, right? So it's actually very easy to build these. This is, I'm sorry because it's hand drawn. I tried drawing it with the modern tools. I couldn't do it, but this is how it is. So the audio got cut off here, the audio parts of it. Mic, single transistor amplifier, feeds to a mixer and the BFO, and this mixed together and converted into double sideband signal. Buffer amplifier, SSB filter filters out one sideband, leaves only the other single sideband out. Another buffer amplifier, the VFO mixes this to the required 7 megahertz frequency, and then you amplify it out, right? So that it's as simple as that. So it's a very simple thing, actually a simplified version of the original BitX20, where I found that there were extra stages which could have been eliminated, and a few small, design tweaks here and there, but it's mostly the same. So this is what it looks like, assembled and unassembled. So what we have done here is it's a very good mix of surface mounted components as well as through hole components, and which is going to be through hole and which is going to be surface mounted is what has reduced the price to the point that we can actually in a kit bag give 90% of the parts mounted for a radio. Okay. Now essentially if you look at the difference between the two, first you'll see the connectors, right? There is SSB, CW and earphone connectors there. They are not there, right, on the top. Now any through-hole component is very difficult, very expensive for asking somebody else to produce. And these are very easy for anyone to do that. You just push these in and solder them up, right? This connector too, which is your power supply connectors and your antenna connectors. So you'll see actually this is upside down, they are on that end. Then you have to wind your own coils, right? So we tried keeping the number of coils down as few as is possible. So this is the VFO coil, transmit low pass filter and the band pass filter. So only 5 coils in which the number of turns are very critical. And then you have these 3 trifilar coils, 1, 2, 3. And then you have 2 inductors. We are actually giving the trifilar transformers, which have 3 parallel windings, as pre-wound in the kit, so that people do not have a problem with doing that. So this is essentially what the Lark set is all about. We have built about 10 of these, and I might actually have one here. I'll pass it around so that you people can take a look at it. Just pass this. Actually, I have 2 of them. This is not the final front panel. The front panel is a little different from this. It's actually a printed one, but here I've just used this. So not much to see, but whatever it's worth. So that's the set. Pardon me? Front panel. See, this is basically a drilled panel. The original panel is, the Gerber is now already on the GitHub. No. We're leaving it to people who know 3D printing better than us to take care of that, right? So we sincerely hope that all of you will at least attempt to build this, okay? The parts kits are available here at HF Signal's stall if you would like to have them. But even if you don't want to buy it from here and you already have toroids, there is somebody else also selling toroids separately. You could basically buy them. There are no critical parts in this at all except for the toroids. So we have toroids here if you'd like to use those toroids, or if you already have them or you'd like to sell. But please do try building it. And to show you how to build this is a workshop tomorrow. It's a virtual workshop, meaning I have recorded myself building one fully from opening the kit to actually making a contact, okay, all together and in real time. So it's going to be about an hour-long workshop tomorrow, same place, first thing in the morning tomorrow, okay. If there are any questions, I'll take it, otherwise I will. Well, it's all there on the GitHub, right? Pura hai. Achha, by the way, it's good that you are here. Sorry, I've forgotten your call sign, sir. Your Bravo. Echo Oscar. So what happened is, originally this had a permeability tuning system, where you saw the earlier one, right? Which EHR had designed. Let me see if I can go back. We had this mechanism, and then he insisted, in fact, I don't know whether I have not. In the paper, actually, I have acknowledged him. He said, no, you should try varactor tuning. My earlier problem with varactor tuning was it used to drift a lot. And I had washed my hands off it because the BitX 40 used to be very drifty. But later on, I realized why the drift was there. The drift was there because the power amplifier, when that would switch on, would radiate heat, and the copper foil would conduct the heat all the way into the variable frequency oscillator, and that would start drifting because it would heat up. And what we have done now, I don't know whether you can see it here. I don't know. Actually, you can't see it here, but this is the VFO part. It's thermally isolated from rest of the circuit by having its own ground plane separately. So it's this, the copper of this is separated from the rest of the copper, and the power amplifier is right there on the, as far away as we could make it from the from this end. So and it uses just a 1N4007 rectifier diode as a varactor. So anyway, so that's the tuning mechanism. Sorry? Well, because it's very boring and entirely prone to mistakes to solder 200 components. So from 200, we have reduced this down to about 15 components. If you are interested in through-hole soldering, the best thing to do is just use a copper-clad board and solder the entire thing yourself. You don't even require a copper-clad PCB to do that, because the circuit diagram is very easy to follow. I mean, the original, which probably I'll get and show you tomorrow, was all, through hole only, without using any of this circuit boards. That's how all the prototyping is done. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'll take a short break. And I have another talk now on building satellites, right? So just give me 5 minutes, I'll freshen up and then I'll be back. Isperana. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right? Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, good enough. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how his name is pronounced, but it's pronounced as Yordi Puirsari. Okay, that's the name of the guy from a university in California called Caltech, who came out with the idea of a CubeSat. Now, on the first looks, it looks very odd. What's the big deal and what's this bright idea that he had called CubeSat? Satellites can be of any shape. Most of the satellites until then are of circular shape, right? They look like a sphere. So why a CubeSat? And what is this big deal that everybody's so excited about CubeSats? So a little bit of that background is important for us to understand why it's such a big deal and why radio hams are now all getting interested in the CubeSats. Now, I'll actually give you an example from a very different world, shipping. Okay, so shipping was notoriously difficult until about 50 years ago. Okay, because it involved, for example, if you'd like to ship a sofa, right, from here to there, as opposed to, let's say, shipping oil. It required very different kinds of packaging, etc., until they came out with a packaging called the shipping container. 10 feet by 10 feet by 40 feet, right? That's all. You fill that thing in, it will go from one end of the earth to another seamlessly because there are ways of tracking it. There were cranes which could exactly lift the shipping container, exactly put it on top of a truck because the truck would fit that shipping container perfectly well. So by standardizing on one particular shape, an entire industry of shipping became very efficient. Same thing is there with the CubeSat. They said that it's a cube 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, right? And that everything of the satellite will fit into that. So what happens is, if I am manufacturing, let's say, solar panels, I'll make a solar panel which will exactly fit into the 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter thing. If I'm an antenna manufacturer, I'll make an antenna which can fit into that. If I'm a launch service provider like ISRO or SpaceX, I'll say, okay, now these are the holes into which a CubeSat can exactly go and fit into the rocket. So by standardizing on a small format, they actually created a whole industry where you can actually now make a solar panel without knowing which spacecraft it will go on. As long as it's a CubeSat, it will go and fit into it, right? So that's the important thing, that the CubeSat has established an industry standard. It's a little like internet, right? Before the internet, there was ISDN, there was X25, there was, asynchronous transfer mode. There were hundreds of protocols. But once the TCP/IP came in, everything flowed on one protocol across the world. So standardization is actually very important. Now, what happens, the way the CubeSat launches is also very interesting. So one assumes that the rocket, you've seen this in a lot of cartoons, right? That the rocket goes up and then, in the space it goes up and the front of the rocket, which is called a fairing, opens up and out of it a rocket pops out and starts, floating ahead. That's wrong actually. It doesn't happen that way. The satellite is ejected from the side of the rocket because the rocket is still moving that way, right? So, and the satellite doesn't have any propulsion of its own, so it can't go faster than the rocket. If anything, it will slow down and crash into the rocket's own body. So the satellites are actually launched from the sides. Now, in space, reliability is the most important consideration. It overrides anything else. Okay. Again, in a lot of science fiction movies, you see that very complicated way the satellites come out and they come out and do this, that, etc. The CubeSats are actually launched by just a coiled spring. There's a coiled spring and the satellite, it's like Jack in the Box, right? So there's a spring like a sofa spring. On top of that, the satellite is pressed and the button and the lid is closed on it. As the lid opens up, the spring inside it pushes it out and the satellite goes out. That's all there is to it. Nothing more. There's a rectangular pipe structure, a rectangular pipe inside the rocket, into which you can actually push one satellite behind the other. All CubeSats are actually lined up one behind the other. It's called a deployer. All it has is a spring at one end and a flap. The flap comes out and all these rockets are pushed out. That video you can see actually on YouTube. If you look at CubeSat deployment, that will tell you. So all these satellites come out one after the other and they start tumbling away. And what happens is they all fly in a flock because they've all come out simultaneously, right? But over days and weeks, they start moving apart from each other. So when a CubeSat is deployed out, they ask you not to switch on any electronics for half an hour because it has to be given enough time for the CubeSats to disperse away from each other. For example, many satellites have an antenna. Now they don't want the antenna to fall out and hit another satellite, right? So that's why there's always a 45 minutes time from the time it's deployed to the time that the satellite can be switched on. Now, how do we know that it's deployed? As a CubeSat maker, how do I know? So what happens is on the bottom of the CubeSat is a small push button. And as the satellites are all stacked on one top of another, the push button is being pushed by the satellite behind or under the satellite, right? So it's on. And once it's released, the pressure on the button goes away. And at that time, you have to start a timer for 40, they say half an hour. You have to be safe. To be safe, you can take an hour or so. And then you switch on everything of the satellite and then you can deploy the antenna, etc. Okay. Now, another very important thing, as I said, that safety is a major concern here and reliability. CubeSats have to be safe. And for the CubeSats to be safe, who are we protecting the CubeSats from? Who are we protecting from the CubeSats? Okay. For example, if you take Sriharikota is about 70 kilometers from Chennai. And as you must have seen this in a lot of videos, that as the rocket goes up, it heads south. So actually you can see a lot of these launches from Chennai. If you time yourself properly, you can see it on the horizon that the rockets are going up. Now, if there is one A3 screw which is loose in a CubeSat, that starts vibrating. Now, what happens is, at the speed at which the rocket is traveling, and given that it's a ballistic object, meaning it has a fire under its belly and it's like going at a huge speed, and you can't control it. Once a rocket's motor, as it's called, the rocket's ignited, you can't turn it off. So if it's veering off its course because there are these vibrations, there's nothing you will be able to do, right? And it can actually veer off from where it was going and even crash in the most populated of areas of Chennai or San Francisco or whatever it is. So it's very important that every part of the rocket has to be very solidly tested, that it has to be able to withstand all sorts of vibrations, etc. So a launch service provider like an ISRO or SpaceX do not bother whether your satellite works or not. They are bothered about its structural integrity. Okay, and for that there's a lot of testing, etc. that you do. So what's usually done is that you take this small satellite, it's the size of a coffee mug, right? 10 centimeters by 10 by 10. You can actually hold it in your hand very easily. You have to vibrate it in certain specific ways and test that nothing goes wrong with it. Okay, so you have to test it in the X direction, Y direction and the Z direction to find out whether it's resonating at any frequencies, because if it resonates at certain frequencies which may be emitted by the rocket while going up, it can break apart, right? There is a lot of jolts that it is getting. So, up to 20 G it should be able to withstand the structure, etc. Then, the size of the CubeSat cannot be 9 centimeters. When they want it to be 10 centimeters, it has to be exactly 10 centimeters. The reason is, your pipe inner The inner dimensions is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, into which this goes like a piston goes into a cylinder, right? And if it is tight, it will not come out because it will get stuck. If it is loose, it will rattle inside it. Neither that is required. So you have 0.1 mm accuracy with which it has to be inside. It has to be made of a specific alloy, the same alloy that the deployer tube is made of, because when both of them heat, they will expand simultaneously to the same dimensions, right? Which is the aluminum 6061 alloy. Okay. So now a little bit of a theory, right? So can we can turn this on, please? Yeah, just this, right? Okay. So given that you have the sun here, okay, and the earth, I'm drawing it disproportionate because sun looks like that from this distance, and you have your satellite, right, which is orbiting this, and the satellite will go around and go behind earth and then come back the other side, let's say. Okay, so the satellite is going around the earth. This area of the earth is always dark where it's night, as earth is spinning. Earth spinning on this axis. So earth is going around, right? And the satellite is going around the earth as well. So what happens is that when the satellite goes into eclipse, that is behind earth, where sun is not falling on it, it won't be able to generate electricity. So it will require batteries. Now, depending on how much you want it to operate in the night during the eclipse, your battery and has to be that big, right? Okay. So that's the first thing. Now, in space, like in summer in India, the night is very short compared to the daytime. So, for example, typically if an orbit is about 2 hours, you will have about 40 minutes of night. Every 2 hours, 40 minutes of night. So that means that every 2 hours, your batteries are being recharged, right? There is this notion going around that, the smartphones these days, the mobile phones are built such that in 1.5 years, they go bad. And they go bad. They don't go bad because the technology is that way, that Google or whoever has designed it, Samsung has designed it that way, but because the batteries go bad. The batteries are capable of only the lithium polymer batteries can only charge 1,000 times. That's their limit. Okay. So 365 days into 3 times, 3 years. After 3 years, on a daily charge basis, these batteries will not charge. People like me have to charge the phone twice because we use the data, etc. a lot, and we keep scrolling all the time, right? In which case, in 1.5 years, the battery goes away. Now, here, if the charge, and every 2 hours you are charging it and then discharging it again, the lithium polymer battery is not going to last more than a couple of months. On a CubeSat, what fails are the batteries. And we use lithium polymer batteries because they are lightweight. The longer, duration missions do not use lithium polymer batteries. They use nickel cadmium batteries, the good old batteries. They can last to 10,000 charges. So with those batteries, you may go on for about 2 or 3 years. So the old satellites, that's why, have lasted a very long time. For example, the AO91 is about 15 years now. It's still on, right? It's still going on. AO91, AO92, these satellites. On the other hand, you see these newer satellites in 15, 20 days, that goes away. Mostly the batteries fail. Okay. Now, other thing is, how much power do you need? Determines a lot of things. So first, figure out how the power is coming through. Okay, so let me draw it right here. That at the distance that sun is from earth, if you put up a 1 meter by 1 meter, 100% efficiency solar panel, let's say, okay, it's one square meter. It's capable of generating 1.5 3 kilowatts, that is 1,300 watts of solar power is actually falling on a 1 square meter area. Okay, that's the amount that it falls. Now, if you use a solar cell which has got, let's say, 20% efficiency, you'll get 20% of that, about 250 watts for a 1 meter by 1 meter solar panel, right? Now, 1 meter by 1 meter, we are talking about a CubeSat which is only 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So it's 1/100th, because both length and width wise it's 1/10, which means theoretically you are getting about 13 watts of power incident on one face of the satellite, right? So 20% efficiency give you about 2.6 watts. Now a CubeSat is like a cube, okay? So if you just put one on one end is covered with a solar panel, what's the probability that that is facing the sun? Okay, one. Second thing is, and you must have seen this, that the evening sun is softer than the afternoon sun. That is because if the sun is coming at a slant, the amount of energy which is coming into the solar panel is less. So if, for example, if the sun is in front of me and it's like this, I'm getting full energy. But if it's like that, the amount of energy which is falling into this is about half of what it would be if it was like this, right? So depending on the angle of the satellite's solar panel compared to the sun, the maximum that you can expect from one panel is 2.6 watts or 2 watts, right? Now accordingly we have to pare down our expectations of what you can do with that 2 watts of power. And this 2 watts of power has to be distributed both during the day and night. So during the day, for example, if you say that my satellite's internal work, everything will be done in 1 watt, the extra 1 watt will be used to charge the batteries for the night time, which is coming in the next couple of minutes. Then when you come back, so during the eclipse time, the battery works. When it comes out of the eclipse, then the solar, panels start working again. They have to do 2 jobs. One is to do the work, and others also to charge the batteries. So your power budget has to be at least twice, preferably about 2.5 times. The power generated by the solar panels have to be about 2.5 times the amount that is actually required by you. Unless you say that I'm not bothered about what happens during the night time, it's a daytime only satellite. There are a lot of them like that. The AO7 is like that now. Because what happened with the AO7 is that the batteries blew, and usually when the batteries blow, they short the circuit, and because they short the circuit, then nothing works. But here they somehow opened. They are an open circuit now. So instead of charging the batteries, all the energy just comes into the circuitry. So the moment it comes into the daylight, the AO7 is on, and you never know in which mode it's on. It's in between mode A and J, so it just keeps flipping between the two. It's a toss up. You figure out, where the beacon is, and accordingly find out which mode it has rebooted into randomly. So that works. Okay. Now there are actually 2 types of satellites, and let's discuss those briefly. Actually 3 types of satellites. So, okay. If we look at the Earth, okay, first there are satellites, and this is the north and south, and the Earth is spinning on this, right? Now there are satellites which go from south to north and then back again. These are called polar satellites, right? And it's called a polar orbit. There are others which will go around the Earth like this, around, almost about the equator. And most of the satellites are actually somewhere between the two, so they will actually are slightly at a slanting angle. Now any satellite in space, because there's very little friction, once you know in which direction the satellite has gone, you can calculate where it will be next and where it will be after that, etc., etc. So if you know initially that on so and so date, at so and so time, the satellite was exactly at this longitude, latitude, and it was going in this speed in this direction, then you can very accurately predict where it will be next. which is what all these satellite tracking programs do. But you should know where the initial position was from where you can calculate the forward future positions, right? And that position, as I said, is specified by capturing the position and the direction of the satellite at some point in time in the past, from where you can predict where it's going to go next. So it will involve, let's say, XYZ coordinates, or say altitude, latitude, longitude, direction in which the satellite was going, and the speed at which the satellite was going, right? So there are 5 or 6 parameters of these. There are actually more parameters, 7 parameters all in all. They are actually specified in 2 lines, were specified in 2 lines when the computers had these punching cards. So it would come in 2 lines of the punching card. So they are still called 2-line equations, TLEs, and every satellite has a TLE associated with it. They are published as a catalog by NASA, right? So every of these satellites will have that. Most of the CubeSats that we launch are actually polar satellites, because polar satellites have this advantage. You see, if it's an equatorial orbit like this, what will happen is it just keeps going around the equator. So there is actually a satellite like this called Lamakaan, right, which goes around the equator. So people who are, let's say, in Sweden have never managed to contact with it, because you can't see the satellite from there. It's to the south, right? But a polar satellite goes north-south, and each time it repeats the orbit, the Earth has, rotated a little. Every 2 hours it rotates. So the good thing about a polar orbit is that everybody gets a pass. But one thing that you have to, realize is that because every pass is going through the North Pole and South Pole, the countries which are very close to North Pole and South Pole, like Russia or Australia down here, or South Africa, they get a lot of passes, because invariably, they will go over that. Lamakaan is another one which is neither polar nor equatorial, but somewhere in between is the ISS, which is why it's very rare to get, a contact of ISS from countries, which are in the extremes. So, okay, so that's about the theory of the satellite. Now, there are things about how do you move and turn the satellite around. Actually moving, just forget it, because something has to push the satellite from one orbit to another, which essentially means you have to have a rocket installed on the satellite which will actually make it go in this direction and that direction. We've been actually, very much influenced by James Bond movies, in which these satellites go around like auto rickshaws of Hyderabad, right? Like you can cut and go. It doesn't happen that way at all. The satellites just keep going in their own direction. Extremely difficult to change the direction of a satellite. But you can turn the satellites around. For example, let's say there's a spy satellite, right? And the spy is, for whatever reasons, interested in where Mr. Bhatnagar is. So now what happens is, it comes over the horizon and you see that Professor Bhatnagar is there, so it just keeps pointing like that, right? But as a satellite is moving, it has to keep, changing its direction of the camera to keep pointing at him at what is called as the area of interest, AOA. Now, in order to do that, the satellite should first figure out in which direction is it originally, so that it can make the correction and turn itself around, right? So, how does a satellite know its own orientation in space? Now, orientation is a very odd thing, because in space, there's no up and down, right? There's no, we imagine that North Pole is up because we live in the North Pole, or the Angrez have, told us that where we are is up and where you are down, which is south. But there is no up and down, okay? And there's no sense of gravity either, so that you can say, Earth is pulling me down, and so, I have some effect there. So there are a couple of things which will help you do that. One, of course, is to look at sun and where the sun is. We even do that, right? Muslims do it more often than not, because they need to know which way the Kaaba is. So they always say, where does the sun set? I have to pray in that direction. And earlier, people would navigate by stars. So you can actually look at stars, take a picture, and depending on the angle at which you're seeing that star, you know that, okay, if that's the North Star and I'm looking here, then I'm looking east. and stuff like that. So one of the easiest things to do is actually to sense sun, right? And you actually don't require anything to sense the sun at all, because the solar panel is itself telling you, depending on how much voltage it's generating, at what angle it is to the sun. And usually there are at least 2 solar panels which are facing the sun, right? Because it's a cube and you've got solar panels on each side. So if you take the ratio of the voltages coming in from all the 3 or 4 of the 3, maximum 3, at least 1 solar panels which are exposed to the sun, you can calculate at which angle the sun is. Let me give you an example. So if you imagine that, it's like this, right? And both of them are getting equal amount of sunlight and equal voltage, then you know that you're pointing exactly in this direction. If it's like this will get more voltage and this will get less voltage. And if it's pointing like this and there's another one here, that gets a little of... So depending on how you are looking at each one of the... but it's a very rough estimate. It's a very rough estimate. What you can see there is actually something more interesting than just the exact angle with respect to the sun, which is, you will note that when a satellite is launched, the voltages on each of the solar panels are going up, coming down, going up, coming down. Then suddenly there is no voltage. Then again the voltages are going up and down. So first, when there is no voltage, you know that you are in the night, right? You are in the eclipse. But when they are going up and down, it means that your satellite is actually tumbling. It's revolving. So you can actually split the revolving into 3 components. How much it's revolving on the y direction, the x direction, and the z direction. And if you know the speed at which it is revolving in these directions, with respect to the sun, of course, right? You know how it is spinning. And if you know where the satellite is at a particular point, and you know the angle to the sun, mathematically you can calculate where exactly it's pointing with respect to the earth. So that's the easiest way to do it. Augmenting that, you can put an electronic compass in it. So if you have an electronic compass, then what happens is, you basically measure the magnetic field in the 3 x, y, z directions. You measuring the Earth's magnetic poles and the field that it generates, just like a regular compass does. And that's another way that will give you an approximate idea of where you are. An even more accurate way is that when you are going into the eclipse, or even if you're not in the eclipse, if you look away from the sun, the sky is pitch dark in space. You can look at some of the well-known and well-established constellations of stars and in which direction they are with a simple camera, a Raspberry Pi like camera will do. And then you can do pattern matching in it and find out, where is the Leo constellation or where is the Orion, etc., and then figure out which direction you are pointing at. So now each one of them gives varying degree of accuracy at various times. So what you do is you take the guesses from each one of them. Okay, the data assimilated from the solar panels tells us you are tumbling at this speed. The star tracker is saying something else, and your magnetic compass is saying something else. The truth is somewhere in between the 3. Okay, so you have mathematical algorithms which will combine these 3 and give you a far more accurate picture of where you are, and a number of readings that you take over a period of time will actually completely determine where you are. Earlier, when they did not have magnetometers and all that, it was actually very difficult. And there's a very interesting story of how Apollo 11 navigated themselves. So what they had was, they actually had a transponder, a linear transponder, very much like the AO91 or the Oscar 7 and Oscar 6 transponder. That is, you send something from here and it will come back from there, right? Okay. So now if you send a frequency from here, the same frequency will come back, right? If the frequency moves a little up, then that your return will also move back, right? That will also shift a little. Now, if you're constantly sweeping from frequency, let's say F1 to 2 in, let's say, 1 second. You're sweeping the frequency, you are like changing the dial. Now, as your return comes back, that frequency will also change. Right? I mean, basically it's same, right? It just shifted the frequency, but as you're tuning it up here, even the downlink frequency changes. But the downlink frequency's change will be delayed depending on the distance between you and the spacecraft. Right? So, the greater the difference between the two, the further you are away. And Apollo 11 had it down to 10-meter accuracy. They could actually figure out how far they are from a particular ground station with 10-meter accuracy. And they had 3 of those ground stations. So if you know what the distance from ABC was, you could draw a pyramid. And that would be one point at which the thing was there. But you still didn't know which way it was oriented. And there were no complex computers on Apollo 11. So what they did was that Michael Collins, the lunar commander, he would sit with a sextant. You know what a sextant is? It's basically a protractor, a geometric protractor, in which you can look at a star and measure the angle at which that star is. So there were 6 stars that he was trained to spot through the window of the Apollo 11 command module and note down those readings, and he would actually radio them on AM to the ground staff. And on the ground, they were calculated with the big IBM mainframe to know where the position was. So it was a very inefficient system, but it worked remarkably well. Anyway, but knowing the attitude is important if you would like the satellite to point in a particular direction. Most of the ham radio satellites don't even bother with this because it's very complicated. As I said, it involves a lot of different kinds of sensors and developing the software for it, etc. The other way to do it is, of course, to use the Doppler shifts. Okay, so this is about, as much as it gets about the science behind it. Now, many of us wish, and some of us like me have been lucky enough to also be able to build some missions and fly them into space. So what does it actually take to build a CubeSat? And this is where, these things are extremely important. One is that you cannot go and do an MTech or BE in making CubeSats. That knowledge doesn't exist anywhere. It's in bits and pieces, but mostly it's locked up in people's minds. So the first thing you need is you need to have a mentor or a guru who will guide you through this process. I was extremely lucky that Jerry Buxton, the Vice President of Engineering of AMSAT, decided to coach me in this. And he enabled me to get through a lot of these things. Now, every CubeSat begins with a 1 paragraph saying that we would like to build a CubeSat which has an uplink of 2 meters and downlink of 70 centimeters, let's say. Right? Okay. Then you say, all right, what telemetry do I need? I need to know how the batteries are doing, whether they're charging, discharging, etc., etc. I need to know the temperature inside, the temperature outside. I need to know whatever parameters are there. Fine. Then you have refined this to say, my power budget is this much. I will transmit, at this thing. You see a lot of these things which share the payload with somebody else, and you say that they have not turned it on. They turned it on for 2 hours, then they turned it off again, and we all get frustrated, what the heck is going on? Why don't they just leave it turned on? That is because they're saving power for the other things that satellite is doing. Okay, when they're sharing the satellite with something else. So, you have to do power budgeting. Once you have done the power budgeting, then you realize how big solar panels you require. Once you know the solar panel size, then you know the cost estimate of how much it's going to cost to build it and how much it's going to cost to launch it. But the most important cost here is not the components. Earlier components were 80% of the cost. Now they're 15% of the cost. 85% of your cost is the human power required to do this. You require at least 2 man-years of effort. By man-years, I don't mean weekends. You have to live this. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. you have to be working on this. At least a team of 5 people have to be working on it for about 2 months. So that's the amount of time that it will take, because it's not like this lark said that you've taken the soldering iron, you soldered it and said, ho gaya, let's fly this. Nobody is going to accept that. It has to have huge amount of testing, documentation for two reasons. One is it's extremely expensive to fly it, so it better be sure that it's working very well. Second, you have to satisfy the safety requirements of the launch service provider. So there are NASA standards for this, which it has to qualify when it comes to vibration testing, emission testing, etc., etc. And you have to satisfy yourself that it is working well. To the point that you should get bored of doing this. Okay? The Exceed Sat 1 was launched on December 1st, 2018. Okay? Do you know what I was doing at that time? I was sleeping. I slept off. Because I thought that the satellite is going to be launched. I know it's going to be launched. Once it will take about half an hour for it to get to the place from where it will be released from the rocket. Then it will take another hour for it to be turned on. Then it will start charging its batteries, because we had shipped it to them 3 months ago. At least 4 or 5 orbits will be required. Each orbit is 2 hours. So it's going to be afternoon of December 2nd before I'll have any idea that the satellite works. And I was so confident that it would work that I went off to sleep. Finally, it was over, right? I was sick and tired of the project, really. So it's important to get to that point where you are so confident of your electronics, of your software, that it's not at all exciting that it works there. You know, it's a given that it works there. And unless you get to that point, you'll see in tomorrow's video that I did of, I was assembling this LARC set, right, for tomorrow's workshop. And I was taking a video of this, and you can see my excitement that the receiver is working, although it's probably the 5th or 6th time I'm assembling the same PCB. That Are Bapre, chal gaya, you know. But that should not be there. That Are Bapra should not be there. You know, that's not how you build a satellite. So it has to be reliable, it has to be very simply done, etc. But it's very exciting, you know. I never thought that growing up where I did, you know, people like nursing, lower middle class family, you know, living off in some neighborhoods in Hyderabad, that you would ever be in a position to build and launch your own spacecraft. And we are in that age now, and I encourage everybody to dream of, you know, launching something in space. Thank you. Take questions. I can pass another mic if somebody has any questions.
Hello. Yeah. Before we build a satellite, we should have that one paragraph. You said, okay. What are the possible paragraphs now?
Well, you know, there are a lot of things. I mean, you know, for example, JJ was saying we need an AIS satellite, which will basically monitor and pick up distress signals from boats, you know, there. It's very unfortunate that most of the killer applications for satellites are no longer required. For example, communications, right? Because the Starlink is there, they'll provide you, you know, some gigabytes of internet that too. I mean, leave alone talking to Sophie, you can actually, you know, on YouTube watch all sorts of cats, right? Cat videos now through satellites for free. So वो market चला गया. दूसरा था imaging का, right? Where you needed to monitor things and you thought if the satellite which will do that. Now there's a company called planet.com, you can go and see them. Planet.com is to imagery what Starlink is to internet and communications. They are constantly recording the entire Earth's surface every 2 hours. So, I mean, you know, if to see whether I have actually come here and my car is parked here, you can go to Planet Lab and buy the imagery of 2 p.m. and see that my car is parked here. It's that good. So imagery has also been sorted out. But there are other things which are very important now, you know, which are coming up. For example, we are all entirely dependent on GPS to do everything else. There's no Indian equivalent, or for that matter, even an international equivalent which will not get turned off by anybody or get scrambled by anybody. So that's actually a requirement that's not being met. I'm just giving you that as an example, right? ham radio satellites. You know, it's a very funny thing that we go, I mean, today you saw with B-Dale's thing, right? B-Dale is probably going to be the next AMSAT president. We were boasting that we are live streaming this on video, terko pata hai kya? You know, poor guy, I mean, he's saying, boss, we need a geostationary satellite over America. They don't have one, right? But Qataris gave money to the German hams, they built it and they've launched it. So there are a lot of exciting possibilities even now of what you can do in space, and you have to move beyond this paradigm of just transponders and cameras. Beyond that, there is a lot of other very exciting stuff which will happen. Yeah.
Typically for the cube satellite, the kind of components that get into, are they easily available, or they are in kind of any supply control, or?
Okay, so it depends. I mean, it depends on how you're designing it. Okay, the 4 satellites that we designed, out of which 2 got launched, used Arduino that we bought from Koti here, from the regular electronic suppliers. What happens is you build 5 and one of them survives your tests. So there is no requirement that they have to be space grade, etc. They have to qualify your space tests.
So the basic frame and everything, you got it locally assembled?
No. At that time, we weren't smart enough and nor were we experienced enough. So Narsingh is sitting here. He actually hand carried a lot of this stuff from Europe for us. Specifically the structure, which had to be machined down to 0.1 mm, and the solar panels. But otherwise, it's not very specific. In fact, now if I had to redesign it, I wouldn't even use space grade, solar panels. I'll just use regular solar panels and be a little wiser with my power budgeting. See, for example, Arduino, right? Arduino will consume 30 milliamps all the time. So 3 volts into 0.03 is 100 milliwatts, is just gone doing nothing. On the other hand, if I use an STM32L, which is same cost processor, instead of 30 milliamperes, it can work with 1 milliampere, right? So I can actually last so much longer.
No, but are you saying the off-the-shelf solar panels that are available can be put up in space as well?
The better of them, yeah. Not the ones that you get around the corner, yeah, but you can actually make of them.
And the shell of the satellite is what, a metal composite, or
it has to be metal. It has to be metal. At least the railings which are in touch with the deployer pipe have to be 6061 aluminum alloy. Okay.
So it's a solid box, or it's only a frame?
No, it's just a frame. It's a metal frame. It's a thin, about 1 mm thick aluminum frame.
Okay.
And it has to be specifically made out of aluminum 6061 alloy, so that it doesn't expand differently from the deployer, which is made of the same alloy when it heats up or the temperatures come down, etc. So that's why.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. This was, I think, the last session today, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. I have one session which is the workshop on the Lark set of how to assemble it. And after that, I think there's one more workshop. So we have 2 workshops tomorrow, and there's also treasure hunt, I think, tomorrow. But, I mean, stay back. I think the tea is here, or will be here shortly if it's not here. 3:30 is when they had promised us. We will see you soon. They're the standard. Yes, sir.